I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Dave, and I'm just gonna lay it out straight. My wife, Lisa, has been cheating on me. That's the brutal truth, and I need to get it off my chest and maybe get some advice because I'm honestly a mess right now. Lisa and I have been married for about 5 years. Things weren't perfect, but I thought we were solid. We had our fights, sure, but I genuinely believed she loved me. She's smart, beautiful, a real firecracker. Sometimes she's bitchy, yeah, but that's just Lisa being Lisa. She's always been a bit high maintenance, always needing to look her best and be the center of attention, but I thought that was just her personality. She's always been a bit of a drama queen, but she's my drama queen. The trouble started a couple of months ago. It was subtle at first. She began acting differently, less affectionate, more distracted. She'd come home late from work more often, claiming it was just business dinners or team-building stuff. I didn't think much of it at first. Honestly, I'd just shrug and tell myself she's busy. Or maybe she's stressed. Maybe I was just trying to ignore the gut feeling that something was off. But then small things started to pile up. Her phone became more private, always locked, and she'd hide it whenever I was near. She'd get defensive if I asked to see it, snap at me, say I was being paranoid. That was her usual move: deny, deny, deny. She'd lie about where she was, who she was with. I caught her in little lies about hanging out with friends or going to the gym, but I knew better. It was like I could feel her pulling away, but I didn't want to admit it. The biggest sign, honestly, was her changing schedule around the time of her company's leadership retreat. She'd been excited about it, saying it was a rare chance for her to connect with her colleagues. I knew she worked closely with some pretty ambitious guys, but I trusted her, or at least I thought I did. I figured maybe she just needed some time away, some me time, as she called it. The retreat happened last weekend. She left Friday morning, packed her bag, kissed me goodbye, and I kissed her back. The house was unusually quiet after she left. I stayed at work late that night but kept thinking about her. She's always been a bit flirtatious, with a sharp tongue and a way of throwing herself into situations. Still, I trusted her. Or I did, until I saw the photos that completely destroyed that illusion. I was scrolling through my phone Sunday afternoon, just killing time, when I saw a message from a buddy I know from work, Tom. We chat sometimes, mostly about sports or whatever, but he sent me a picture that made my stomach drop. It was a shot from the company retreat's team building event. And in that picture, Lisa, my wife, leaving a hotel room with a guy I didn't recognize at first. It was her, no doubt about it. And she was holding hands with him, walking out together like they were a couple. The timing was perfect. I looked at the timestamp, and it was right after the last team activity on Saturday afternoon. My heart started pounding. I could feel the blood rush to my head. I stared at that photo for what felt like forever. Lisa was wearing that tight black dress she loves, the one that makes her look like she's trying to seduce everyone. The guy she was with, tall, confident, with a smirk that looked like he knew he was about to get what he wanted. They looked cozy, too cozy. Like they'd been doing this for a while. I couldn't believe it. I went back over the other photos I found on her phone, ones she didn't know I'd seen. Small things: her disappearing into the hotel bathroom for long stretches, her changing clothes before bed, her texts that she tried to hide. All of it pointed to one thing: she was cheating on me with my work rival, no less. It was the same guy she'd been talking about at work, the one who's always been eyeing her and trying to get her to hang out after hours. I was frozen, just stunned. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. And the worst part, the betrayal wasn't just about the affair. It was that she'd lied to my face all along. That she'd been sneaking around, hiding things, lying about where she was. All those nights she said she was working late. She was probably with him. All those little excuses, just friends. Nothing's going on, they were all lies. I spent the rest of the day staring at that photo, my mind racing. I wanted to confront her right then, but I knew I had to plan. I needed to get the full story to understand exactly how deep this went. I couldn't just blow up without knowing everything. But part of me wanted to burst through that door, yell at her, make her admit everything. I felt angry, betrayed, sick. And I knew my world was about to change forever. The night after I saw those pictures, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept circling back to that image of Lisa leaving that hotel room with him, her hand in his, that smug look on her face. It wasn't just a moment of bad judgment. It was a slap in the face. I kept thinking, how long has this been going on? Was it just that weekend, or had it been going for months? And what the hell was I supposed to do now? I stayed up, staring at the ceiling, trying to piece everything together. I felt this mix of rage and despair. I mean, I knew she was a bitch sometimes, but I never thought she'd do something like this. I honestly felt like I'd been punched in the stomach, like all the trust I'd had in her was just shredded into pieces. The fact that she lied about everything, even the small stuff, made it worse. It was like I was living with a stranger, a woman capable of so much deception. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding headache. I looked at my phone and saw she'd left a message early that morning saying she was working late again. I ignored it. I knew I had to confront her, but I didn't want to do it impulsively. I needed a plan. I needed to know what I was dealing with before I stormed in, because I knew once I did, there'd be no turning back. I spent the whole day thinking, trying to decide how to approach this. I knew I couldn't just let it slide, but I also didn't want to blow everything up without a reason. I was trying to calm myself down, but the anger kept bubbling underneath. I wanted her to explain herself, to justify what I saw. Part of me hoped she'd have some kind of crazy excuse, maybe deny it, say it was a mistake, that they were just friends or some bullshit like that. But deep down, I knew better. Later that afternoon, I decided I had enough. I got home early, parked my car down the street so she wouldn't see me coming. I wanted to catch her in the act if I could. I crept inside quietly, listening for sounds, but the house was eerily silent. That's when I noticed her phone lying on the kitchen table, face down. My heart started pounding again. I knew I shouldn't, but I couldn't help myself. I grabbed her phone and unlocked it with her code. I was desperate to find proof, something concrete. And I found it, a string of texts from him. Just little messages, flirty, suggestive, even some explicit. He was already talking about how hot she looked at the retreat, how she was such a tease, how they should meet up again soon. My stomach dropped. The words cut through me like a knife. It was all right there. They had been planning something, I was sure of it. That's when I decided I couldn't wait any longer. I had to confront her face to face. I went into the bedroom where she was sitting on the bed, scrolling through her phone. I saw her look up, caught. Her eyes widened for a second, then she quickly tried to hide her phone behind her back. "Lisa," I said, voice trembling, "who the hell is this?" She tried to brush it off, put on that fake, bitchy smile she always wears when she's about to lie her way out of something. "What are you talking about?" "Just some stupid work thing." "Don't lie to me," I snapped. "It's from that guy, the one at the retreat. I saw your pictures leaving that hotel with him. You've been messing around behind my back, haven't you?" Her face went pale for a split second, then she scoffed. "Oh please, you're overreacting, you're jealous, that's all. It's just sex, it doesn't mean anything." That's when I lost it. I felt this mix of boiling anger and heartbreak all at once. How could she sit there and lie so effortlessly? I wanted to shake her, to demand the truth. But I also knew this was just the beginning. She was good at lying, and I knew she'd do everything she could to spin it in her favor. That's when the realization hit me, this wasn't just about cheating. It was about her bullshitting her way out of everything, making me the crazy one. And I hated how easy she made it look. I didn't cry, not yet. Just stood there trying to process what was happening. My mind was racing, trying to figure out what the next move was. I wanted to hold her accountable, but I also felt so betrayed that I didn't even know what I was feeling anymore. All I knew was that my marriage, the trust I had in her, was shattered, and I had no idea how to rebuild it, or if I even wanted to. The confrontation didn't go the way I expected, honestly. Lisa kept spinning her lies, throwing out those bitchy smirks and acting like I was overreacting. She kept insisting it was just sex, like that made everything okay. That she'd never do anything to hurt me. She called me insecure, jealous, stupid for even doubting her. Said I was controlling. That I was imagining things. Her voice was cold and sharp, like she was annoyed I was even bothering her about it. I felt a rush of anger, but underneath there was this deep, aching sadness. I'd loved her. I still loved her even now as I looked at her with that disgust and betrayal burning inside me. I told her I knew about the photos, about the texts. Her reaction. She told me I was crazy, that I must have been mistaken, that I had no proof. I was just paranoid. She said I was trying to ruin her career, ruin us, that I was turning her into the villain when she never did anything wrong. I remember standing in front of her, gripping my fists so tightly that my knuckles turned white. I wanted to shake her, to scream at her, to make her see how much she'd hurt me. But I stayed calm as much as I could. I asked her point blank, "Are you sleeping with him? Are you really cheating on me?" Her eyes flickered for a second. She hesitated, then finally snapped, "Maybe I am. Maybe I like him better than you. Maybe I don't care anymore." That moment, everything shifted. That's when I realized she wasn't just lying. She was lashing out, trying to hurt me back, like she wanted me to feel as broken as I was. The words hit me hard. I felt like I'd been punched again, but this time in the gut. I'd always thought she was just a little bitchy, maybe a little selfish, but I never imagined she'd actually throw our marriage away like this. For a second, I wondered if I'd been blind all along, if I'd missed the signs, or if I'd just refused to see what was right in front of me. I didn't cry, not then. Instead, I told her to pack her things. I told her that I'd had enough, enough of her lies, enough of her games. She looked at me, snarled, and said she didn't have to leave, that I was overreacting, that she'd never cheat on me, and that I was just trying to control her, that she'd go if she wanted. She always did what she wanted. I didn't argue anymore. I just looked at her, disgusted, and told her to leave if she was going to lie her way out of this, that I wanted her gone. She scoffed, grabbed her purse, and threw us an icy glare. "Fine," she said. "You're overreacting. I'll go, but don't come crawling back when you realize you're the one who screwed this up." Watching her walk out that door, I felt a strange mix of relief and devastation. Part of me was glad I finally knew the truth, but another part was shattered. Her words echoed in my mind, those cruel, bitchy words. I realized then that I'd been living with someone I barely recognized, and I didn't know if I could ever trust her again. And honestly, I didn't even want to try. How do you come back from something like this? That night I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything. The lies, the betrayal, her cold attitude. I felt numb, like I'd lost a part of myself. I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay, not anymore. But I also knew I had a choice. Stick around and try to salvage what was left, or cut her loose and find a way to move on. The decision was clear. Even if it hurt like hell, she was gone, and I was left to pick up the pieces of my broken heart. The days that followed were a blur. I kept expecting her to show up at the door, begging for forgiveness or trying to spin her way out of this mess. But she didn't. Lisa disappeared from my life entirely. No calls, no texts, no "let's talk" or "I love you, baby." Just silence. Honestly, I think she knew she'd pushed me too far. Her pride probably wouldn't let her face me after she'd been caught red-handed. Meanwhile, I was stuck in this whirlwind of emotions, mostly anger but also sadness. I'd be lying if I said I didn't cry sometimes, late at night when I was alone, just thinking about everything I'd lost. The woman I married, the partner I trusted, the life I imagined we'd have, all gone in a matter of moments. I kept asking myself what I did wrong, how I didn't see it coming. I kept replaying every sign I'd ignored, every time I dismissed her odd behaviors as nothing. That gut instinct I'd tried to shut down was now screaming at me that I'd been blind. People around me started noticing too. My friends, my family, they all knew something was wrong. I couldn't hide the pain, the betrayal. I just felt numb most of the time. That's when I made a decision I couldn't take back. I had to get some space, some clarity. I moved out for a few weeks, rented a small apartment nearby. I needed to breathe, to think without her voice or her lies clouding my mind. During those weeks, I started digging into her phone more. I wasn't proud of it, but I had to know exactly how long this had been going on. I found more messages, some explicit, others just flirty. I saw how she played him, how she egged him on, how she'd flirt shamelessly even when I was right at home. It was like she had two lives, and I was the fool living the one she pretended was real. One thing that stood out was how she always acted like the victim when I confronted her, that she was doing it because I was controlling, or stressed, or just having some fun. She painted herself as the innocent, betrayed wife when she was the one sneaking around. Every lie she told, every excuse, just made me angrier. I felt like she'd turned herself into this manipulative monster. I remember sitting there, staring at her texts, trying to hold back rage and tears. I kept asking myself, how did I miss this? How did I not see that she was capable of lying so effortlessly? The woman I loved, the woman I married, was nothing like the person on those texts. She was cold, calculating, and selfish. That realization hit me hard. I trusted her with everything, and now I knew I'd been played. Eventually, I decided I had to face her again. Not to beg, not to plead, just to get some closure. I wanted her to look me in the eyes and tell me why she did this, why she threw everything away. When she finally showed up at my apartment, she was dressed like she owned the place, that bitchy smirk on her face. She thought she could come back and spin her lies again. We sat down and I asked her point blank, "Why? Why did you do this? After everything we had, how could you throw it all away for that guy?" Her reaction was typical. She rolled her eyes, scoffed. "You really want to know? Fine, because you're boring, controlling, and you never gave me what I needed. That guy, he's exciting, he's confident, he treats me like a queen. Unlike you, who's just a regular guy who's too scared to have any fun. And honestly, sex with him is way better than with you." That hit me like a punch. I felt this surge of rage, but also this deep sadness. I couldn't believe she'd say that so casually, like she was proud of destroying us. That she'd thrown away her marriage for some bullshit ego boost. I looked at her, disgusted, and realized that she didn't see me as her husband anymore. Just some obstacle, some loser she needed to get rid of to chase her new thrill. I told her she could leave, that I didn't want her to come back anymore. That I'd had enough of her lies, her manipulations, her bitchy attitude. She said she was sorry, but I knew she was. Sorry isn't enough when someone has betrayed you that badly. Sorry doesn't undo all the damage. As she stormed out, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. I was finally free from her bullshit, but I also felt broken. Like I'd lost a part of myself I'd never get back. And in that moment, I realized I was going to have to rebuild, probably alone. I had no idea what the future held, but I knew one thing. I'd never look at her the same way again. And I'd never trust her again. After she left for good, I was left sitting in that empty apartment, staring at the walls that once echoed with her bitchy comments and her laughter. It was surreal. For years, I believed I was with someone who loved me, who had my back. And now I knew she'd been lying to my face, playing some twisted game behind my back with that asshole from work. The first few days were the hardest. I kept expecting her to call, to say she made a mistake, to beg for forgiveness. But she didn't. Instead, the silence was deafening. I tried to go back to work, to keep my mind busy, but every time I saw her name or heard her voice in my head, I'd feel that familiar hit of rage and heartbreak. It was like I was walking around with a grenade in my chest, just waiting for it to explode. One night I sat alone in that apartment, drinking too much, trying to drown out the pain. That's when I realized I had a choice. I could either drown in anger and regret, or I could pick myself up and move forward. I knew I'd never forget what she'd done, but I also knew I couldn't let her ruin me forever. So I made a decision, revenge in a sense, not necessarily to hurt her, but to reclaim my dignity. I started planning my comeback. I knew I had to make her regret what she lost, even if she didn't deserve my forgiveness. I wasn't just going to sit around moaning. I was going to take control of my life again. I threw myself into work, focused on my career, and started rebuilding my confidence. But I also wanted to do something more, something that would send her a message she'd never forget. I did some digging. I found out everything I could about that guy, what he did, who he was, how he tried to charm her. And I realized I could use that information to make her see what she threw away. I wasn't going to blow up her life, but I was going to make sure she knew I was still standing tall, that I was stronger without her. So I contacted some of her closest friends, people she trusted. I told them the truth, what I'd found, how she'd betrayed me, how she was lying about everything. I didn't name names right away, but I let them know she wasn't the angel she pretended to be. I wanted them to see her for what she truly was, a manipulative, selfish woman who couldn't keep her legs closed and her lies straight. The reactions were predictable. Some felt sorry for me, some didn't believe it, but a few started to see through her bullshit. I could tell she'd been building herself this perfect image, but the cracks were showing. Her friends started to distance themselves from her too, which was exactly what I wanted. I wanted her to feel isolated, to see that her lies were catching up to her. Meanwhile, I focused on myself. I started going to the gym, getting in shape, feeling stronger physically and emotionally. I refused to let her ruin my life completely. Every day without her became a small victory, a step toward reclaiming my peace. I didn't do this to get back at her. Well, maybe a little more because I wanted to prove that I was still myself, that I could survive her betrayal and come out better on the other side. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't think about her constantly. Every time I saw her name in a message or caught her lying about something small, it stung all over again. I kept asking myself, why did she do it? Was she really that bitchy and selfish? Or was I just blind, stupid to believe in her? The more I thought about it, the more I realized this wasn't just about her cheating. It was about what kind of person she really was. And honestly, I was done being that guy she played. Now I'm at a point where I'm trying to move on. I've started dating again, slowly putting myself out there. It's not easy. Trust doesn't come back overnight. But I've learned a lot from this whole nightmare. Mostly, I learned to listen to that gut feeling, that little voice that warns you when something's wrong. I learned that sometimes love isn't enough. People can be real monsters hiding behind pretty faces and sweet words. And I also learned that revenge doesn't have to be loud or destructive. Sometimes, it's just about showing that you're better, stronger, and that you won't let someone's betrayal define you. I still think about her sometimes, how she looked, what she said. But I refuse to let her take more from me than she already has. I'm rebuilding my life, one step at a time, and honestly, I know I'll be okay, even if it takes a while. It's been a few months now since I kicked her out and started putting my life back together. Honestly, I didn't think I'd get here, but somehow I did. The pain still lingers, yeah, but it's not as raw. That anger I felt when I first uncovered everything has mellowed into a quiet resolve. I've learned a lot about trust, betrayal, and what it takes to actually move on. I'll admit I still think about her sometimes. Those moments when I catch myself wondering what she's doing, who she's with now, if she ever regrets what she threw away. But then I remember the lies, the manipulations, the way she treated me like I was nothing. That's when I realize that I've gained something much more valuable: clarity. The kind that comes from hitting rock bottom and realizing you're stronger than you thought. Looking back, I see how much I was willing to ignore, how much I tried to hold on to something that was already gone. I see the signs I refused to acknowledge: her dismissive attitude, her secretive behavior, those little lies she told myself and others. I wish I hadn't waited so long, but I also know now that I can't change the past. All I can do is learn from it. If I could give anyone advice who might be in a similar situation, it would be this: trust your instincts. Don't ignore those little red flags because you're afraid of losing someone. If someone truly loves you, they won't need to hide or lie. And when you find out they've betrayed you, don't waste time trying to justify or fix what's broken. Cut it loose and focus on healing yourself first. Because, at the end of the day, your happiness is what matters most. I've started to see the future differently now. Not with her in it, but on my own terms. I've met some new people, started exploring new hobbies, and even gotten to a point where I feel genuinely hopeful again. It's not perfect, and I know I'll carry the scars of her betrayal forever, but I also know I'm better for having gone through it. Most of all, I've come to accept that some people just aren't built for loyalty or honesty, that not everyone is worth fighting for, and that's okay. Because I've learned to value myself enough to walk away from that kind of toxicity and trust that, eventually, I'll find someone who truly deserves my love and respect. Someone who won't lie, cheat, or turn my world upside down. So here I am, still standing, a little wiser, a little stronger. And I'll never let someone like her take that away from me again. I hope my story serves as a reminder that even in our darkest moments, there's a way out to reclaim yourself, to rebuild, and to find happiness again. Because no betrayal, no matter how deep, can keep a determined heart down forever.